Chapter 4: The Turkish Invasions, Part 3. Objectives. In today's session, we will learn about who was Muhammad Ghori, which two battles were fought between Muhammad Ghori and Prithvi Raj Chauhan, what were the reasons for the success of the Turks. Muhammad Ghori. In the previous session, we learnt about Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni who attacked India 17 times, but he never wished to build an empire in India. That wish of establishing an empire in India was accomplished by Muhammad Ghori. Muhammad Ghori was the one who laid the foundation for the first Muslim empire in India. Means he was the founder of the first Muslim empire in India, and he was the ruler of Gaur, which was a vassal state of the Ghazni Empire in Afghanistan, established by Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni. Now, what do we mean by a vassal state? A vassal state is any state that has a mutual obligation towards a superior state or empire. In simple words, we can say a smaller state under the rule of a bigger state. But when trouble came upon the Ghazni dynasty established by Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni, the Ghoris, they declared their independence, and in this way in 1173 CE, Muhammad Ghori annexed Ghazni. Annexed Ghazni means he captured Ghazni and he ascended the throne, means he declared himself the king of Ghazni. Then after that he then turned his attention to India and he conquered Multan and the fort of Uch in Upper Sindh, and later on he captured Peshawar and Lahore also. Now here comes one of the major part of the chapter, Prithviraj Chauhan and Muhammad Ghori. Now here the question comes, who was Prithviraj Chauhan? Prithviraj Chauhan, he was one of the greatest ruler of the Chauhans, which was among one of the Rajput clans explained to you earlier. He established two capitals of his kingdom. One was at Delhi and the other was at Ajmer. His adventures and battles have been described in Chandvardai's famous epic Prithviraj Raso. Prithviraj Raso is the name of the epic and Chandvardai is the writer of that epic. As Muhammad Ghori was capturing one area after another, this brought him into conflict with Prithviraj Chauhan of Delhi. Total two battles were fought between Muhammad Ghori and Prithviraj Chauhan. First one was the first battle of Tarai, which was fought in 1191 CE, in which Prithviraj Chauhan defeated Muhammad Ghori. Then however, Ghori came back the very next year with a larger army and he inflicted a crushing defeat on Prithviraj in the second battle of Tanai, which was fought in 1192 CE, in which Muhammad Ghori defeated Prithviraj Chauhan. And this was a major victory for the Ghoris as it was cleared the way for the establishment of Muslim rule in India. In the meantime, Muhammad Ghori's trusted general Qutbuddin Aibak captured important places in the Ganga Doab. Doab is a region where two rivers meet together. Then this led to conflict with Raja Jaichand, who was the Rajput ruler of Kannauj. After defeating Jaichand, Muhammad Ghori made his way to Banaras, where he established a strong garrison. Now, what do we mean by garrison? A garrison is a group of soldiers whose task is to guard the town or building where they live. Then a Muslim governor was appointed in Ajmer and some important Rajput fortresses in Gwalior and Kalinjar were occupied by the army of Muhammad Ghori. Soon after that, Ghori conquered Bihar also. Then Bengal, which was under the Sena dynasty, also fell without much resistance, means they themselves surrendered to the army of Muhammad Ghori without fighting with them for their independence. In this way, now Muhammad Ghori's empire in India extended from Punjab to Bengal. Reasons for the success of the Turks. First reason for the success of the Turks was that even after Mahmud's invasion, the Rajputs continued to fight among themselves. They did nothing to organize themselves into a unified force against another possible invasion from the northwest. Means they all were fighting to increase their own power from the other ruler. So in this way, no unity was maintained among the Rajput rulers. Secondly, the Rajputs thought that the Turks who stayed behind in Punjab would gradually be absorbed into Indian society. In this way, they made a huge mistake in assuming so. Unlike the Sakas and the Huns, the Turks they brought with them a different religion and a culture that was very much different from a culture followed in India, that was Hinduism. Thirdly, the military tactics of the Turks were very much better than that of the Indian armies. Military tactics means the skill of effectively using soldiers and weapons in battle. The Turks used to wear very light armors and their horses were swift, means fast running horses they were using, while the Indian soldiers they were still wearing heavy armor on their body, and the army mainly depended on the slow moving lines of elephants. Then the fourth reason was the Turks fought under a single ruler, whereas the Rajputs they fought as groups under different leaders. Each and every Rajput ruler was fighting for their own kingdom only. They were not fighting together, whereas the Turks they were fighting under a single ruler just to defeat all the Rajput kingdoms. Then lastly, the Rajputs also treated war as a tournament, whereas Turks treated war very seriously. Tournament in which they were showing and they were using it as an opportunity to show their bravery against the other Rajput ruler. So in this way, the Turks got a chance to defeat the Rajputs and finally they won the war. When Gauri went back to Ghazni after defeating the Rajputs in India, he left Qutbuddin Aibak in charge of areas conquered in India. But soon after the death of his master, means when Muhammad Gauri died, Qutbuddin Aibak broke away and he established his own kingdom in India. And with Qutbuddin's accession to the throne of Delhi, means as soon as he ascended the throne of Delhi, begins the history of the Delhi Sultanate in India, which will be explained to you in the next chapter.